Part 0012. Chapter 1 Momentary Peace. Magical Explorer. Reborn as a side character in a fantasy dating sim. It happened when the other students in the house and I were relaxing after breakfast. My thoughts suddenly turned to Sis. Hey Ludi. I sorta just remembered this, but there's been something on my mind lately. What is it? Sis has been sleeping in my room recently. I mean, she's always done that, so no big shocker, really. Pretty much. Excuse me? That's definitely not normal. Yuka honed right in on my casual lead-in. Ludi, you have to come back to your senses. That's an absolutely buck-wild thing to come out and say, okay? Typically, she'd just sleep in her own room, right? Right, Yukain. Why, yeah. Based on Yukain's half-hearted reaction, she probably thought it was a pretty normal thing herself. I've already mentioned it to her, for one. I wasn't the only person who had seen through her shaky response, either, as Yuka glared at Yukain with disgust. Yikes. Has the Hanamura house corrupted you all or something? I wonder if it's not you, Miss Yuka, who is the actual heretic here. You'll start thinking the same way soon enough. I half agreed with Nanami's point. Hell, I was terribly unsettled the first time Sis came into my room and jumped under the covers, but now there were times where I was super tired and joined her without a second thought. Nice and cozy warm. Yuka still didn't seem to be convinced, but honestly, I didn't really care regardless. There was something else on my mind. Anyway, that's not what's actually been bugging me. The truth is, sometimes, I'll catch Sis with a doll that bears a real close resemblance to me. As I said this, everyone except Yuka suddenly froze up. And maybe your eyes are playing tricks on you? She's right, Takioto. Why would there be a doll of you out there? Sheesh, it seems that these made powers I exude are making you see illusions. I need to rein in my power level a bit. Nanami's weird comments aside, I'm being serious here. I really saw it. It can't be. You don't know anything about maid power. Nanami asked. Of course not. Why are you so surprised by that? I bet no one in the entire world knew what she was talking about. She was trying to change the subject with this nonsense, but I wasn't going to get taken in. Then, right at that moment, the door clicked open and Sis entered the room, lost in thought. We all looked at her, of course. From there, our gazes fell on a male doll wearing a red scarf that she had in her hands. It's an illusion, Nanami said while Ludi turned my face toward her in the same breath. Yup, she had really long eyelashes, and her skin was flawless, a pretty face that anyone would find captivating. Except, this wasn't the time for that. Ludi didn't have any real muscle strength to speak of, so I escaped her grasp and stared back at Sis again. Unfortunately for me, she had slipped into the kitchen, and I couldn't get a good look at her. But there was no question she'd been carrying a doll with her. Come on, passing that off as an illusion is way too much of a stretch. She's definitely carrying around a doll that looks like me. I watched Sis as she nonchalantly took out a carton of 100% mixed fruit juice from the fridge and poured herself a glass. After plopping a straw into the cup filled with the light orange liquid, she started to head back to her room, completely heedless of our attention. She didn't immediately open up the kitchen door, though. That was because a scarf-clad doll had slipped out of her arms. Oh, sorry, Kusuk. Sis addressed the doll and picked up Kusuk like nothing had happened before departing. Silence fell over the room. Everyone besides Yuka refused to look me in the eye. Just an illusion. I'd say it's pretty much impossible to stick with that explanation at this point. See, even Yukain's agreeing with me. Also, Sis said, Kusuk, when she picked up that doll, right? We all heard that, didn't we? I asked. No, I think you misheard her. To me it sounded like she said Sakezaburu. It's most likely a doll from the novel Miss Ludi wrote, incomparably brutal Sakezaburu. Ewa. Pretty sure this was the worst suicide pass I had ever seen. Faced with the curveball, Ludi let out a strange yelp and stared at Nanami in confusion. Alright, obviously. It was Sakezaburu. Right? It's okay, Ludi. You don't have to go along with her. You should probably hammer out this stuff a bit more ahead of time, considering Ludi's more shaken up about this than I am. Though, I am curious about the novel, I said. Well then, allow me to give you a brief summary. The protagonist, Hinagara, is betrayed by a comrade he put his trust in and fosters a forbidden love with a married woman in his neighborhood as he tends to his fields in the countryside. But when he is stabbed by one of the instructors from his days at the academy, he awakens to his love and elopes with a stray maid he comes across. Where the hell did this Hinagara guy come from? And how is anyone supposed to know it's a soap opera instead of an action story, or even a laid-back slice-of-life story? That title's not misleading, it's straight-up false advertising. What's the incomparably brutal and the Sakezabiru stuff all about then? See, even Yuka was perplexed by it. If that was what the novel was about, how about calling it Hinagara, writhing in agony instead? Now then, I believe our plan for the day is to head into a dungeon and focus on collecting magic particles. Oh, that also reminds me, I think Miss Ludi and Miss Yuka will be meeting up with Mr. Iori as well. Hold it, don't think I'm going to let you change the subject here, Nanami. Just look at Yukaine. Her smile was so forced that her eyes were about to start twitching. Okay, so let's get back on topic. Why exactly does sis have a doll of me? That's what we're discussing right now. Oh, Takioto. Right, now that you mention it. Now that you mention it. Now that you mention it. Why did she say the same thing 3 times? So about that doll. I actually got the feeling that I'd seen it somewhere before. And I just remembered that it was in Yukaine's room recently. Yukaine, the moment I went to look at her, she turned away from me. This was the first time I had seen her so agitated. You don't mind if I pay you a short visit, right? And now hold on, Takioto. Well, entering the room of an unwed young girl isn't a very honorable thing to do. Then how come you normally let me in just fine? I replied, but when I went to stand up, Ludi grabbed me by the hand and pulled me back down to the couch. Ludi. She awkwardly averted her eyes and held her tongue. All right, I could presume a couple things from this situation. Yuka was clueless about this whole thing. But Nanami, Ludi, and Yukaine definitely knew something and were likely complicit in the matter. Now that I thought about it, they'd talked about a doll like this before, hadn't they? That Takioto doll's pretty cute, isn't it? Heck, I'd like one for myself. Whoa. Nanami and the others had formally denied it even existed, so if Yuka was asking them, isn't it? Together, Miss Hatsumi and I obsessively designed it down to every last detail. I can provide 2 small-size versions free of charge. We'll need to discuss pricing if you want it medium size or larger. Wait, you just came out and admitted it yourself. So I was right, after all. Please, master, calm down. I will admit that Miss Hatsumi and I designed them, but it was Ms. Ruija who actually made them. Honestly, I can't believe she'd do something so outrageous. Come on, why were you trying to drag Ms. Ruija into this and pin all the blame on her to boot? Though I have to admit, she definitely did a good job on them. She was searching for part-time work, so I hired her as a doll maker to give her a steady gig. As far as I remember, I'm pretty sure both Marino and I said she wasn't allowed to have any side jobs. Well done keeping her in check, at least. Seeing as you commissioned her, it's in a bit of a gray zone, but Yua, I'm still mad either way that she was looking. Speaking of Ms. Ruija, she was weirdly good at housework and sewing, wasn't she? Hold on, maybe she'd be willing to make an item for me if I asked her. In that case, I shall put in the request with Ms. Ruija. Let's call the meeting here. Wait. Like hell, this is over. I grabbed Ludi and Yukaine by the arms as they tried to stand up and made them sit down again. Fess up, you two have dolls too, don't you? Yeah, we do. Yukaine, no use trying to hide it at this point, Ludi. Every woman in this house has one, Takioto. Except for Yuka, since she wasn't living here when we were planning it all out. Is that right? But why? I asked this while looking at Yukaine, but the answer to my question instead came from Ludi. I mean, they're so well made and cute. But well, we thought you'd say they were unnecessary and tell us not to make them, so... right. I probably would say something like that. I would cringe myself to death if I had a plush of myself. I promise you don't need to worry about this, master. All the dolls are made from safe, Wakoku-sourced materials. You know, I wasn't the least bit concerned about how they were sourced. Then you must be concerned about the sizes. Rest easy. Since we blew past the target goal of our unofficial crowdsourcing campaign, we'll also be producing a life-size doll to serve as a nightly companion. I want a list of everyone who donated to that, and I want it now. Nanami glanced at Yukine, who proceeded to avert her eyes. Huh? Yukine? In that case, there's no other choice. Let's make a deal, master. What kind of deal? Nanami drew close to me and whispered into my ear. Why don't we have Ruija make you a doll of your woman of choice? A very, very lewd doll, of course. In exchange, you'll pretend you didn't see anything today. How does that sound? Yep. Today sure was a wonderfully quiet and uneventful day. After a fabulously pleasant morning, I went to the academy with Nanami and called Ms. Iou, Ms. Ruija, as I had something to discuss with her. Normally, her very existence was like full-body aromatherapy, but she'd taken to cowering like a rat staring down a cat lately. Once we got to talking, however, she would always return to normal. Good day, Ms. Ruija. Good day, Nanami. Also, I don't have any money I can return to you. The fact that she was bringing up money right from the get-go sounded pretty terminal to me. That's fine. You can pay it back with your body. Eep. Ms. Ruija seriously stiffened up. Just what in the world had Nanami done to her? She looked so pitiful that I decided to come to her aid. Nanami's joking. Yes, about 5% of that was a joke. Oh right, you're living in a luxury apartment building that Master owns at the moment, yes? Wait, so 95% of that was serious? Why yes. Renting that out to repay your debts might not be a bad idea, either. Yes, I believe there was a rather large cardboard box in the neighborhood trash dump this week.